come tomorrow. We'll come back tomorrow again.
Okay, we're up to the top line on Zion Amid Aleph. Zion Amid Aleph, the Mishnah had said that things you can do Chol Moed to go ahead and preserve the field. You're able to capture critters that might go ahead and eat up the field. And the Gemara made a distinction between a stay Elon and a stay Lavan. The Chacham, is a state according to the Tanakama, stay Elon, stay Lavan. In a normal manner, you can go ahead and do it. The Chacham said a stay Elon in a normal manner and a stay Lavan. Again, stay Elon is an orchard and stay Lavan is a grain field. That you can go ahead and trap in a non-normal manner, and you can close the fence. And in Shvius, you can build normally. That's what we're saying. So Rabbi Yehuda, so now the Mishnah had said the Chachamim. The Gemara is identifying those Chachamim as Rabbi Yehuda. When Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, when he anthologized the Mishnah, he went ahead. He wanted the halacha to be according to the majority. Now, the majority sometimes is not more than one person. So, but he listed it as Chachamim. So you would go ahead and create the majority. And therefore, in this case, we get a little insight. The majority, in fact, is Rabbi Yehuda, but based upon Rebbe's Chachamim, the halacha would be like him. What would kedarka be? What would be a normal way of trapping? So, guma, you go ahead, you dig a ditch, and you would suspend a trap, and the animal will go ahead into the ditch and be trapped. That seems to be the normal way of trapping. Ketzat shaloi kedarkoi. That's shaloi kedarkoi. What is the not normal way? Is noyet shpud. You would go ahead and take a spit, put it in the ground. Umaka bekardum, and you bang with a hammer. Umrada adama, and it softens the earth betachteha. And Rashi seems to say the earth goes in and crushes the animals. I'm not an expert in these things, but Mandy, don't ask questions. Okay, thank you. Good, very good, good. Mandy, you don't know anything about trapping. I don't either. Tanya, Mandy, be quiet. Says Rabbi Elazar Yaakov. You give me that look. Elazar Yaakov, Kisha Amru mistay lavan shaloi kedarko. When they said a stay lavan, a field that is a grain field that you can go ahead and trap shaloi kedarko. Amru ela b'stay lavan asmuchal ear. That means it's next to the city. And the only concern of a loss would be the grain field. So there, you'd only be able to trap in the shaloi kedarkai. Aval b'stei lavan asmuchal esada ilan. However, if the grain field is next to the orchard, and again, the orchard you go ahead and trap kedarko. Therefore, in the grain field, you'd also be able to trap kedarko to avoid the animal going from the stay lavan into the stay elon. Afilu kedarka shema yotzim stay lavan. Perhaps the animal will go out from the grain field, v'achri wes ilanis, and destroy the ilanis. Again, the rule of thumb is there's more destruction of an orchard. So and there's more of a davar avod. So we allow you the tircha yisera of going ahead and making a trap, which is digging out, which again it involves more tircha. It's the same sort of going ahead and irrigating a base hashlachim, fellas. That by stay elon it's a davar avod. Therefore, since it's something you're going to take a loss of principle, therefore you're permitted to go ahead and be matriach harder by digging out the trap, making a trap. Mashenkin is stay lavan where it's much less of a loss, then it's shaloi kedarka, it's less of a tircha. That seems to be the side of the sugya. We said you're able to go ahead and close. Makrin usually means like a roof off. A pirza here, you have a fence, you have a hole in the fence. On the moed, you're able to go ahead, Rod, and close off that hole, that opening. Close off that opening. Now the Gemara will say what exactly can you do to close off the opening? So Kate said, Makrin, how do you go ahead and close it off? Rabbi Yosef, the Amar of Yosef Amma says, you use types of things that grow. It's like a tamar, a date tree. You have dates that they spread apart. You go ahead and you weave a type of like the Kushingas, right? So you can imagine you weave a type of clothing. You go ahead. You could put bricks there, rocks there. However, you don't cement it. I guess there's a bigger tircha of putting the rocks there. But to the extent of making a full-fledged wall, we want to close the pier. So we want to close the opening. once it goes ahead and the opening is considered closed, it's not necessary to make a full-fledged wall by cementing it. Amr of Kista Leishanu, these that Hutza Vidafna and stones without cement, Elabikoisel where you're guarding the kaisel is the purpose of guarding your vegetable patch. Aval kaisel hachotzer, if it's regarding your own property, meaning your own safety, you want to guard your chotzer, boine kedarko, you're able to build kedarko. So in other words, if your door would break down a chalamoid, you don't go ahead and stick the door up, but you go ahead and you'll be able to fix the door. And if you're concerned, I guess you'll be able to fix your alarm, even a little promo for certain people, right? To be able to fix your alarm chalamoid because you're worried about breaking in. Right? Don't listen to him. That's why he sits in the back and plays with his phone. Okay, now says Lema Messiah, right? Zing! Lema Messiah, Kaisel, right? I protect my guys. I make fun of you, yeah, but no one else makes fun of you. Listen, you get. He was masking. He's giving me the thumbs up. I get to see what goes on here. I get to see everything. I only see one thing. Says more. Kaisel hagoicha, Rosh Hashanah. You have a wall that's going ahead and it's flowing to Rosh Hashanah. So obviously it's in danger. So seiser, you can knock it down. Ubayna kedarkai, and you build it up in a normal manner. If they ask sakana, because of what of the sakana. So l'chayra, we have a proof. In other words, just like kaviyachol, there's like I don't get sakana. It's for protective purposes where you're able to go ahead and build the hole, fill in the hole, protecting your chatzar. So too, if you have a kaisel going down, that's a sakana. So l'chayra, that's a proof. That's mahasam can tell you timer. If they ask sakana, in other words, there's a difference between security and a sakana. So you don't have a raya. That you want to say, just like you could knock down the wall and rebuild it, so too you would be able to go ahead and build a full-fledged wall to fill in the opening of your chutzner. That's what you want to say. Says the Gemara, it's not a good sushtel. Why? Because one's a sakana and one's not. Yes.
No, is it sakana is tzorchei rabim?
No, it's going to fall in. Sakana. Even with anything, sakana is not tzorchei rabim. I think you don't need tzorchei rabim. Sakana would be. You don't need any heta for that. That's pikuach nefesh. I mean, sakana. Zvika the army toshma kaisel hagoichel rishus harabim, a kaisel that's going ahead and it's falling into rishus harabim. Seiser, you go knock it down. Uboin the kedarka from the sakana, and now the statement is not stated as a proof, as a distinction. If they have sakana in, shleim if they have sakana low, now what you wanted to bring a proof. Now let's turn it into a question. The only reason you're able to knock down and build normally is because it's sakana. But stam, because if you have a chutz or a courtyard and you want to go ahead and fill in the hole, that you can't do. So that would be a kasher on the amoyer of chista. Amoyer of chista, no. Hasam soiseru boina. Hacha boina b'lei soiser. Big difference. Over there, you're knocking down and building. Over here, you have the whole existing. You don't have to knock down anything. There's no demolition going on over here. You simply have to fill it in. So let's knock it down and not build. In other words, if you worry, what's the sakana, guys? What's the sakana? That the wall is going to fall on somebody. So if we want to minimize the amount of work you can do on chalamoid, so knock it down, remove the sakana, but don't rebuild it. Don't rebuild it. Says Gemara in Cain, Nimnav le'saisei. You know what? If you can't rebuild it, they won't knock it down. Somebody, it's one. Right? In other words, if you have a wall that's enclosed. The guy says, "Go take care of it." Right? You got cement. You live on a corner. Let's say hypothetically, you live on a corner, and there's cement protrudes. So you have this, safety issues in Brooklyn, New York, right? So the city comes around and says, "What do you have to do?" Yeah, violation, right? So what do you do? Without the violation, you're not doing that. You're doing nothing, right? Now you got a little incentive. So you're going to say, Amravashi, Masnisanami Deka Diktani, Ubashvi is Boina Kedarkai. Now the Hecha, what are we speaking about? Shvi is now. You're telling me, guys, as a Shemitah year, you can build Kedarkai in a Chatzar. What does a Chatzar have to do with Shemitah? Obviously, it's Shemitah. It must be speaking about something to do with agriculture, right? A Shemitah is an agricultural term. It's not nothing to do with a chutzner. A chutzner is simply where you live. When you go ahead and introduce Shemitah, it must be this fence has something to do with agriculture. So Elaim the chutzner tzrichel meima. That's a double pashut. In other words, guys, in the Shemitah year, if in a chutzner you can build a wall, whoopie do. Yeah. You know what? And that's it. So no. That's not what it means. Elalav the gina. It must be that the shvius you're building a wall around a gina, around a vegetable patch. The afagav the michsi kimanda oven tirusa leperi. Even though it appears if you're watching the Paris, you could do it. Shmamina, you have a raya that we said that you build shaloi kidarka only around the gina. But like Rav Chisda says, if it's around the chutzner, if it's a matter of security, then you would be able to go ahead and build kid darkoi. You'll be able on Chol Moed, you'll be able to build kid darkoi. That's the Gemara's conclusion. Okay, there's a fascinating halacha. This is mamish fascinating. It's a great. I find this one of the most fascinating halachas in the Torah. We know that in Vayikra, Perek Yudalid, begin a whole parsha of what's called the Mitzayra, the parsha of Negoyim. Negoyim is plural for nega, for a nega tsaras. Just very briefly, if a person has in his skin some type of marking, if it fits in certain boxes, it's white, it's darker than it looks deeper than the skin. It has two hairs in it. There are certain simanim that makes it tsaras. Now, you can know if you fill in the boxes, you are a regular guy. You go to the biggest dermatologist in the world, the biggest expert in tsaras in the world. If he says, guess what? That's tsaras, you're not mitzayra. The only one who can make you mitzayra is Mendi the Kayin. Maybe. Mendi the Kayin could go ahead and make you. You also the Kayin? No. So Mendi can make you. Mendi is the Kayin. You need the Kayin to go ahead and paskin. Now, be that as it may, it's geschmack as anything. Since Negoyim is totally been the Kayin, they would, when it comes to regel, they would not look at Negoyim. Why? It's going to shter you simchas yantif. You know what happens? You want to fabring, you want to go into the base of Migdash, you want to go eat your kachim, you want to eat kachim, right? You cut manis. Now, if I'm a nega, right? So the mamish, exactly, somebody sent me, I'll quote my boss, Rabbi Leib Kelman, said to me, I went into I text him, I get nervous, like, okay, what's up now? But this was interesting. He texted me. What did he text me? He said, I hope that you'll point out in your share the comparison between people refusing to test for COVID because they don't want to be positive, and a person refusing to go to the Kohen for tsaras examination. So I consider it pointed out, right? It's pointed out.
What did we send an email to?
No, I'm saying, so it's a fascinating thing. Now, here's the question, guys. If the Kohen sees it, does he have an option of pronouncing or not? In other words, you go to the Kohen, the Kohen takes a look at it, and he says, I know it's tsaras, but as long as I don't say you're tameh, you're not. Or no, once you go to him, he has no option. He has to go ahead, what? Okay, that's the machloikis in the Mishnah. Two opinions in the Mishnah. Right? Right. For a Kohen, you'll see the limud. Reb says the Mishnah, Royines hanegoyim, right? Lahakol, take out the word b'chila. Royines hanegoyim, you could view negoyim, lahakol, to be makel, avloy lahachmir. In other words, if the kohen sees that it's not tsaras, he's able to say tahar. But if he sees it's tsaras, he doesn't say anything. But you have that option. You're looking, you say, this is very interesting. You know what? I think you should go home and have a coffee. So you're impure as anything. But since he didn't say yatame, enjoy your coffee. Kenny?
What about Chag?
What?
Is there a pasuk that says that he doesn't paskin on the Chag itself? We're talking about Chol Moed.
No. This is on the Chag for sure not. This is for sure not. And now we're speaking about Chol Moed. The introduction was he'll never look on the Chag. On the Chag itself, he'll never look. That's
Because there's a
that's
pasuk?
introduction. Because again, you're sharing this amach b'chagecha. But what about Chalamoid? We want to know. Again, this is Masechtas Chalamoid. What about Chalamoid? Zicha, everyone would hold on the Chag. No way. No way. You don't look at it. He's not closed for business. The office is closed. Now, Avaloy lahachmir. The Chachamim oimrim, then I'm going to see the Chacham is Rabbi Yossi, loy lahakol v'loy lahachmir. You can't look at all. That's it. In other words, just like the Chag he doesn't check, so too on Chalamoid he does not check. Just like in the Chag he doesn't check, so too on Chalamoid he doesn't check. Tanya, Remeya oimer, royines hanagoyim lahakol avaloy lahachmir. Why do we find out in this price that we didn't know in the Mishnah? Rabbi Yossi oimer. Now again, this is the exact same thing as the previous Mishnah, guys, right? Chachamim turned out to be Rabbi Yehuda. Now the Chachamim turned out to be what? Rabbi Yossi. Again, it's Rebbe's way of getting the psak across by couching it in the plural of Chachamim, even though it's an individual shita. Good. So it's a very good thing to know that this would make the first volume in the introduction to the Talmud of Art Scroll. This would make this concept of what I just explained to you now. So Rabbi Yossi says, Loila Hakov Loila Hachmer. Why? Shemata Niskak Loila Hako. If you're forced to say he's makel by looking at it, Niskak Loy Afla Hachmer. You would have to go and be Machmer. So that's Machloikis. Light Rabbi Meir, you can see it and you have the option. Light Rabbi Yossi, once you see it, you don't have to have the option. Okay, now Rebbe gives a psak. I'm a Rebbe. Nirin divrei Reb Meir b'muskor v'divrei Reb Yossi b'muchlit. Okay, now the Gemara gets very interesting. Let's go back. Megillah, guys, Megillah, Daf Ches Amid Aleph. One of the sugyas that perhaps one was apt to say, I don't know about this in this Megillah, but Baruch Hashem, it's only one block. Ein bein mitzayra muskar, mitzayra muchlit, right? My brother-in-law's giving me the eyes. Mitzayra muchlit is the guy, he went to the Kohen, he's a full-fledged mitzayra. The Kohen says, you go chutz lamachnet, that's it. You are a mitzayra. A mitzayra muskar is, the Kohen is unsure at this time. So muskar, sagar, you would close him away for 7 days. 7 days later, he'd come and recheck. If he's tahar, he's tahar. If he's tameh, he's tameh. If it's the status quo, he would go in other 7 days, right? Another 7 days. And if he, again, the same thing. What's the halachic difference? So I have a chart over here and look at your phones. Right? No, it's a better one. Right? You can look at your phone. Now you look at your phone. What? No, he's used to it.
Many years.
Sukkah, get out!
I didn't have phones back then.
Sukkah, get out!
They had portable radios. Right. I used to listen to the Mecca radio, I think on my sleeve, a little Sunday football radios. That's Mecca noise.
Okay, who's here? Somebody just came in?
Me.
Right?
Me.
Oh, you get in. Oh. So, what are you doing here?
Homesick.
Benji, you're funny. You're funny. Your teeth. Okay, guys. We can see this? On the share screen, we can see this? Watch. 3, the muskar, the muchlit, and after he's been declared tameh, 7 days of tyre, going across the top. The muskar, the one who you're not sure. The muchlit, you are for sure. And 7 days tyra. Okay, now. The one, I put Taisus out. Let's focus on this Rashi. A muskar is inside the machne. A muchlit is outside the machne. A muskar, again, let's call him quarantine. A quarantine is inside, a full-fledged is outside, and tahari comes inside. Skip Taisus. A muskar cannot live with his wife. He's also betashmish. A muchlit could. Guys, you hear this? It would be the opposite in Svara. A quarantine kohen cannot, a mitzayra cannot live with his wife. A muchlit can. However, once the muchlit is been declared tahar, then he's asa. The 7 days of Tyra, he's asa b'tashmish. So you got it? Inside the camp, outside the camp, inside the camp. Asar mutta mutta. This is now. The machloikis between them, near and divrei. Let's see the Gemara. I'm keeping the screen open. So Amar Rabbi Nirin Divrei Rabbi Meya b'muskar v'divrei Rabbi Yossi b'muchlet. So what does he say? He paskins when it comes to a muskar. When it comes to a muskar, he paskins like what? Like Rabbi Meya. Rabbi Meya said that what? The kohen has the option to look and not to look. Good. And he paskins like Rabbi Yossi b'muchlet. Okay. So now let's go through the various options. Back in the Gemara. B'tahar Amarava. B'tahar, a person who is tahar. He's tahar, guys. In other words, he has something in his skin, but you haven't had a psak. He has obviously something that he has to go to the kohen for, but you didn't get a psak. Kuli almalei pligi. In that case, everyone will agree that what the chazilei. Even Reb Meir would be moida that the kohen will not look. There's nothing to gain, guys. If he's tahar, there's nothing to gain because he's going to go from a status of tahar to being either outside the camp totally or not being able to live with his wife. There's nothing to gain. So everyone's moida, even Reb Meir, that you don't look at it. There's nothing to gain. Next, Beheska Rishon. It's speaking about 7 days after the kohen returns to check to see the status of the quarantine kohen of Mitzayra. The Kuli Amalei Pligi de Chazile. Everyone would hold that you look. Even Rabbi Yossi would hold you look. There's nothing to lose. Guys, what's the status quo now? He's quarantined. What? He's quarantined. So what's the downside? If he's tahar. If there's no change, then what? Then nothing lost. What happens if he's tamei? So Tosfos says that you gain something that is tamei. You'll see the Tosfos yourself if you're interested. Next. Ki pligi amid beis. When's the machloikis between Rabbi Meya that you look and Rabbi Yossi you don't look? Is beheska sheni. Is what if it comes back the second time? In other words, the second time he comes back, it's either one or two things. He's either tahar because nothing changed, or he's tamei. He's either tahar. In other words, there's no option there's no third round. It's only 2 rounds. You quarantine 7 days twice. After the next 7 days, you're either out or you're in. So now, Reb Meir Marsava, Reb Meir holds the kohen Talia Milsa. It depends upon the kohen. In other words, he has his druthers what to do. The kohen has his druthers what to do. Eat tahar, amalei tahar. The tamei, and if he's tamei shasik, he'll be quiet. That's it. So he's a tahar, tamei, nothing to lose. So therefore, okay. Umasava and Rabbi Yossi says l'tayroi or l'tamai. It's either or. You're going to do one or the other. You don't have the option. As we will magdim this whole Mishnah. Like Rabbi Yossi, it's not optional. You got to come up. If you show up at a kohen, you got to come up psak. So the Torah or the Tamei Ksiv. So now so that's machlokes, guys. So outside, 3 scenarios: tahar, first 7 days, second 7 days. Again, tahar, everyone agrees you don't look. First 7 days, everyone agrees you do look. Third 7 days, that's the machlokes. Let's say 14 days falls out in the middle of Chol Moed. Says Rabbi Yossi, you can't look. You know why? Because if he's tamei, you're going to shter his yontif, because you have no option. Like Rabbi Meir, you have an option. Don't say anything. If he's tahar, you give him a little pinch on his cheek and say, simchas yontif, go enjoy yourself. And if not, go have a cup of coffee. But I haven't said you tahar, haven't said you tamei yet. So that's the machlokes between the two. Said Rebbe now, near in divrei Rebbe Meir. I hear the words of Rebbe Meir by what? By a muskar, and I hear the words of Rebbe Yossi, but by a mochlet. That's what I hear. Now, what does that mean? Now, what does that mean? Let's look at the bottom of the chart now. He's a muskar, right? And he's showing up. He's quarantined. If he's tamei and becomes a muchlet, right, guys? You see, I'm showing you. Look at the bottom there. Mm-hmm. Now, muskar, arrow to muchlet. That means you pronounced him tamei, and he's going to a muchlet. So what's going to happen? Now he's going outside the machna, but he's going to be mutter b'ishtai. No, before he was asa in ishtai, and he was inside, right? Look at the muskah chart. Look at he was inside, and he was asar. As a result now of him becoming a full-fledged mitzayra, he's going to be what? He's going to be permitted to be with his wife, but he's going to be outside the machne. So it appeared to Rebbe like that. And it appeared to Rebbe, bottom line, muchlit, you're passing a muchlit for 7 days to Tyra. He's going from being tamei to Tyra, right? So what's the change of status? He's going from chutz lemachne to inside the machne. However, he's going from mutter be'ishtoi, because muchlit's mutter be'ishtoi, to asa be'ishtoi. So the change, there's a change transpiring. So that's the machlokes. Rebbe says, by muskah to muchlit, I agree with Reb Meir, that you look at it. By muchlit, I agree with Reb Yosi that you don't look at it because of this reasoning. Says the Gemara back inside. Who's here? Somebody else is here. Moshe Neumann. Meir Sim, you're here? You're here already. Okay. Anyway. Okay. So now, again, the advantage of staying, it's like there's an advantage of being quarantined and there's the advantage of being muchlit. The advantage of being quarantined is you're inside the machne. The downside is you're asa b'ishtoi. The mila of being muchlit, a full-fledged mitzayra, is you're mutter b'ishtoi, even though you're outside the machne. So each one has a mila over the other, right? Each one has a mila over the other. It's not that difficult. Okay, now so let's see it side. Amamar, 3 lines down. Amamar, Amar Rebbe, near the Rabbi Yosi ben muchlit, the Rabbi Meir ben musker. So I agree with Rabbi Yosi where you're going from a full-fledged mitzayra to Tyra, and I agree with Rabbi Meir when you're going from a musar to a musket, you're going from a quarantine mitzayra to a full-fledged mitzayra. We heard the opposite, that near the Divrei Rebbe Yosi ben musker and Rabbi Meir ben muchlit. Says more Tanoi Ali b'd Rebbe. It's machlokes Tanaim according to Rebbe. Mas Savar, the second brisa, guys, that says the words of Reb Meir is by muchlit Savar Safsa the Alma Adif. He'd rather be in company with people, so therefore he'd rather go ahead. And go from being a full-fledged mitzayra where he doesn't have people to be a Taurus mitzayra, which he gets mitoich machne, even though he's asav ishtay. Umasav in the first brisa holds Safsa the Isha difalei. He'd rather stay as a muskar because he's mutter be'ishtay rather than go ahead and be muchlit. And he'd rather stay as a muskar. As a muchlit and be mutter be'ishtay rather than going back among the people.
Is machlokas what the simcha is of Yontif that he's not supposed to share? Is that what it is?
Again, the question is we have a Rebbe paskening in 2 scenarios. What goes ahead and fuels that psak? What's fueling that psak? Is it the simcha of being with people or the simcha of being with his wife? That's fueling it. When Meimer the muchlim mutter b'tasher samita, you mean to tell me, guys? You told me a big chiddush, right? You told me a full-fledged mitzayra can live with his wife, right? And a quarantine mitzayra can't, right? In Vatanya, yes. In yes. Vatanya, the Yoshev mechutz la'oiloi shivas yamim, and he should sit outside his tent 7 days. She'yasa b'tasher samita, ve'ein olay eli ishtay shenemar. So this is the 7 days of Tyra, guys. During the 7 days of Tyra, he stays away from his wife. Shnemar, leichem or lehem, shuva lechem or leichem. Tell Moshe, go tell them to go back to their wives after Mount Tyra. So what do you see? You see that what? During the May Tyra, he can't live with his wife. Mashma, when he was Tameh, he could. Different pasuk, Shivas Yamim Yispru Loi, he may see Puroi, only in the days of his counting for his Tyra can he live with his wife, but not when what? He's a full-fledged Mitzayra. He disagrees. Rabbi Yehuda says, Madach, when he's cleaning, he's also live with his wife. Certainly when he's tummy, he can live with his wife. But Rabbi Chia, the Nanti Rebbe, and I went in front of Rebbe, what's the psak? Like Rabbi Yehuda, like Rabbi Yehuda. Is the psak of Rabbi Yehuda that he's also permitted to his wife during those days or not? And Rabbi Chia, the Nanti Rebbe, Limadatain Rabbeinu, and he said, there was one of the kings of Yehuda was Uziyahu. David pronounced on Yoav a klala, and one of the klalas that should be Mitzayra, and it reverted all back to David's house. And David had one of his descendants, Uziyahu, was a Mitzayra for 25 years, guys. He was a Mitzayra, 25 years. At the age of 25, his son Yosem began ruling. So it had to be that Yosem was fathered when he was a Mitzayra. So you can ascertain that a Mitzayra is Mutta to Ishto. Or else how could Yosem have been born? So Rabbi is saying in practical Maisa, not a pasuk. You see that word was obviously it was father Yosem during the May of the Chalutai that he was a full-fledged Mitzayra. Fascinating. It's nice Gemara. It's like once you hear words that you get scary. Yeah, you don't get scared so much. So anyway, I'm not going to tell you run out and learn Masechta Negoyim, but I'm saying that it's Kishmak. It's Kishmak. So right now we're very good, guys. We understand the sugya. We have machloikis. What takes a precedent? Was it coming into the machne versus being gusted to your wife? We're staying chutz the machne and being mutter to your wife. That was machloikis between Reb Meir and Reb Yehuda in Reb Yossi in the two brises. And now we're saying, we just asked the question. It's kind of odd. When he's quarantined, he's also to live with his wife. When he's a full-fledged Mitzori, he could live with his wife. And we're proving from Psukim and from Uziyahu that in fact, yes, that the Mitzora Muchlit, the full-fledged Mitzora, is able to live with his wife. Afani Kachamati. I also said this. Now, what's the first machloikis between Rabbi Yosef and Yehuda says it's Aser during Bimei Chalutoi? When it's a full-fledged Mitzora and Rabbi Yehuda, what's the machloikis? Rabbi Yosef Sava Goli Rachmana Bimei Sipuroi V'Kolshkem Bimei Chalutoi. The Torah reveals to you in the 7 days of his Tyrese Asa, who are din in the days of Tumah. In other words, it would appear to be like a Kal V'Chaimer kind of. If be made to Tyrese Asa, be made Tumah, certainly is Asa. Well, Masava and Rabbi Yehuda holds no. Mind the Goli. Wherever the Torah revealed halacha, it's limited to that area. They revealed it regarding Mesi Pura, regarding the 7 days of cleanliness. But the days before, the Mechilute, when he's a full-fledged Mitzayra, he could live with his wife. Well, mind like Goli. Says Gemara, remember the Kohen Tali Milsa. Now, Sai according to Rabbi Yossi and Sai according to Rabbi Yehuda, everything depends upon the Kohen. Sai according to Rabbi Yossi and Sai according to Rabbi Meir, everything depends upon the Kohen. Rabbi Meir says it outright. Rabbi Yossi, you can figure it out. Now, what does Rabbi Yossi say? The only shaila about Rabbi Yossi is whether he has to paskin or not paskin, but it depends upon him. Unless the Kohen says something, it ain't happening. The question is if you show up, does he have to say? That's the machloikis. But everyone depends. Say according to Rabbi Yossi, say according to Rabbi Meir. Everything. The biggest dermatologist in the world cannot go ahead and make you a mitzayra only at a kohen. Says the Gemara, Lememra, to say whether it's Rabbi Yossi or Rabbi Meir, the kohen tell you milsa in Vatanya is a raya. Ubiyoim herois. What? Wait. Again, it's not so often. Ubiyoim herois. There's machlekes what the pasuk is, so it's not so often. Once you have machlekes what the pasuk is, not so often. Ubiyom herois boy, and the day that it's shown to him, Yeshem Sh'ataroya boy, Yeshem Shi'ataroya boy. This day you show him, day you don't show him. Mikan Omru Chasen Shenoilid Bonega, Noisla Zayin Yemei Mishta. A Chasen, maybe I wasn't masber correctly. Maybe it's the Kohen Tali Milsa. I think that is okay. And the Chol Moed. Anyway, a Chasen Shenoilid Bonega. Chasen at the chasna, he knows takes a look, and epis is not geschmack. So what happens? He gets. You're not going to pronounce during shaver bachas. You're going to give him shaver bachas. You're not going to share a simcha. Loyal beisai, uleksusai. Whether it's in his house or in his clothing, also you're not going to paskin a tzaras on his house, nor if he has tzaras in the begodim, you're not going to paskin that either. It's going to share a simcha. As we introduced the whole sugya, you're not going to go ahead. The kohen's not going to pass it on the regel to share simchas yontif. Noisin l'shiva yemei regel. You give them all 7 days. Div Rabbi Yehuda. These are words Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yomi Rabbi says it's tzarich. I don't need the pasuk of Yom Heres Poi. I got another pasuk. Hari Yomi, it says v'tziva kohen. It says, guys, by nega of a house. So what does the kohen do? You know what he does? He shows up at the house and he tells everyone, get the stuff out. Get everything out. Now, if he shows up in the house, he takes one look and he knows it's tzaras. Why does he tell him to get everything out? Is because if it was in, it's matami tumas oil, like a base. Everything would be tummy. So what do you see? That until the kohen pronounces tumah on the house, So now, the tziva kohen ponis abayis. Imam tinan loy l'davar rishus. If we're going to wait for his psak for davar rishus, such as cleaning out the house, kol shkein l'davar mitzvah, certainly for the regel or for the sheva brachas, certainly. So you don't need the pasuk. Yom Haras both. Sometimes look, sometimes you don't look. You can ascertain from what? From the goyim of batim that obviously by mitzvah, madach devar rishus to keep his kalim, you're going to go ahead and not paskin. Certainly, you're not going to paskin on the moed or by meichasnus. Says it might be now. What's nafkamina between the two? Whether you learn it from Yom Haras or from what? From the tziva kohen. There's no practical difference. The only difference would be the mashmois of how the drasha works. Which one appealed to which one? This one beyond Harris by beyond this day and that day, and the other one was appealed on the going of housing. The Rabbi says no. Rabbi says enough community halacha. Rabbi Dvar Shus Kiminayu. A Dvar Shus there is between them. Right. The Rabbi Yehuda who learns it up beyond Harris by right. He learns out a chasin and a regel, a mitzvah, right? That you wait for, but for Dvar Shus you won't wait. Tumah begufay. Tumah begufay, guys. If it's tumah begufay, you're not going to wait. You know, it's for devar mitzvah, I'll wait. For devar rishus, I won't wait. You know, as you show up to the kohen and say you have to go to a jet game, he's going to say you're tahar, you're tameh. Now first say you're crazy, and then you say tameh and a double tameh. You really.
Then you have to go to the jet game.
There's no simcha in that. What's the simcha?
What?
Before, because if you say that it's a hefsimam and the Torah is marking on people's money. Maybe the money will map it on for the Caleb. There's no hefsim mammon by regular.
What are you talking about? It's all simchas yontiv.
Okay, but there's no hefsim. There's no losing out.
There's simchas yontiv.
There's a simcha. It's not a hefsim.
You're not allowed to paskin on the chag. I don't understand you. You can't.
We said the kabachayim buy it.
No, madach for a devar rishus, right? You're going to go ahead and wait for devar mitzvah. They won't wait. Why don't you understand that?
Because the Torah is careful on people's money.
But still, the simcha, a mitzvah comes all before rishus. Careful money, shmoney. When it comes a mitzvah, it's priceless. Priceless, Rabbi Yankel. Now, says the Gemara, for Rabbi Medavar rishus Rabbi Yehuda. Now, so according to Rabbi Yehuda, who learns Abiyam Harris by Dafka rishus, a Dafka mitzvah. According to Rabbi, even by rishus. Now, what did each one like about the other ones, guys? Now, Rabbi Yehuda mehasan legarminon. Why doesn't Rabbi Yehuda learn from the house? Why does he learn from the house? Why do he learn from Biyam Heres Boy? So that's said. And for the Gemara, the chiddush who it's a chiddush. The eitzim v'amana v'alma le'metama. Guys, stam eitzim, stam a kliates, and kliates. It has to have a base kibul to makabel tuma. No, you don't have a flat piece of wood. A flat piece of wood is not makabel tuma. Stones are not makabel tuma, but they are. So. You want to learn out from a chiddush to what? To a person? That doesn't work. Let me tell you. So what did we say? Therefore, Rabbi Yehuda, he'd rather learn out from B'yom Heresbod. Some days you see it, some days you look, some days you don't look. So what's the chiddush? All over what? The stones, sticks and stones, you're not matame. And here they are. Rabbi Yomer and Rabbi who did learn out from what? From the house. It's trich. You need both. Because Rachmana b'yom Heres boy, if you just read Rabbi Yehuda's pasuk to look at during the day, Havamina, the Devar Mitzvah in, the Devar Rishus loy, I'd say, you know what? You wait for the Devar Mitzvah, you wait. But when it comes to the Devar Rishus, you don't wait. So therefore, Kas Rachmana, it's Siva Koyin, therefore you do wait. In other words, the Svara would be opposite Yankel. See, the Gemara saying I'm opposite Svara than you. For the Devar Mitzvah, you would wait, but for Devar Rishus, I'd say not. Kamash Malon, you do. It says, because Rachmana, it's Siva Koyin, Havamina, Hani in. The lavmit tumas gufay. That's because not by this, not tumas gufay. It's only by a house. Aval tumas gufay. I would say he has to check it out. So tzricha to tell me what he doesn't check it out. Okay, thank you everyone for waiting. And thank you. It was a great night. And Baruch Hashem.
Friends or wife, which comes first? I'm not sure.
Huh?
Hang out with the